and welcome everybody. My name is Trenton Bodine, and I will be your guys' host today for Bosses in Action. We're back here with episode 96, and we are going to be diving into the Interface 2.0 technology and how it can be used within the real estate industry. And today here we have a very special guest, Christopher Vandervalk. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Whissel Realty Group out of San Diego, and would love to introduce him here. And Christopher, you want to walk through a little bit, introduce yourself, and we will get started.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Excited to be back. Yeah, as I said, my name is Chris Vandervalk. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Whissel Realty. We're currently the number 3 ranked team in California in units at 599, and we are placed 29th in national sales volume with 421 million last year and growing. So yeah, what we're here to talk about is Interface. I've been using Interface for 1.0 for about 3 years. I think I did a webinar with Tristan years ago on how we were using it. I've always called it the spinal cord of our entire system, our central nervous system. It connects all of our tech and reduces the amount of dependency we have on agents to do data entry, which I've always struggled with. So it puts a lot of certainty into our data and connects our system.
Excellent.
Originally, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, just to what we're trying to solve here, Daniel, when he built Interface 2.0, was ultimately the lack of ability to automate certain parts of Follow Up Boss. That's the key problem. And there's certain things that I think all users want to do. I know we're very excited for FUB's Automations 2.0, which is coming at some point. But Daniel went ahead and built Automations 4.0, I'd say, for FUB. Has more endpoints than Zapier does to permit automations, has more endpoints than Follow Up Boss natively does, more than Make does, or any of the other system out there. The only way I would say anyone is able to replicate what I'll show you today is through natively creating your own API syncs between other softwares. If you can write some code and ship them and Postman or something like that, then you might not need this. But if you're trying to automate beyond what's available in FUB or Zapier, and I'd say the ease of access to use it is more in line with Follow Up Boss than Zapier. So I think the ease of entry for more users is definitely there as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those that are here in the webinar watching, let us know actually, I don't know, Mon, do they have the ability to chat or not? I'm curious for those that are here, are you guys using Interface at all? If you are, drop it into the chat. Yes. If you're not, hit no or type no in there. And we would love to just get a familiarity of where everybody's at, because Interface is a powerful automation platform here. And so, Chris, what are some of the best ways that you guys are using Interface 1.0, which is now going to be 2.0? And so what are the main features that your team is using?
Yeah, so we were with Interface 1.0, and that system was basically a big data warehouse that Daniel built to ensure that we could do custom integrations throughout our system. At the time, it was built on a third-party set of forms that Daniel built on. And at this point, he has built his full vertically integrated forms stack with an automation stack. And so that way, all the endpoints from FUB are natively there to connect versus you having to have all this tech knowledge on how to build forms, then integrate them with Follow Up Boss, pull in the right fields you want. It's all there on a panel I'll show you there. Why we even went down this path for us, at the end of the day, it solved problems that we couldn't solve. And one of those was, taking on the story, Trenton, is that we found this really cool power dialer called Call Tools. And for me, my journey started as an ISA. And I'd like to say I was pretty good as an ISA. And a lot of the ISAs I know across the country that are really good, their biggest deficit to production is getting people to talk to on the phone. And so that's where the technology of a really good dialer, and Mojo's been the industry solution forever. I think everybody recommends Mojo, if you're going to do power dialing at scale. And Mojo has its own inefficiencies. Call trust, for example, at Follow Up Boss was a way Follow Up Boss combated answer rates and deliverability of calls. I've not seen Mojo or a lot of the other entry-level calling platforms introduce anything like that helps you get calling efficiency. So we started to look, we found Call Tools. We since then built a two-way integration with Scott Hull that we have available to people. But what we realized is Call Tools really is for our ISAs. It's very robust system. It's a very technical system. And agents just don't want to sit at a computer all day, at least on our team, and make calls. So that's our ISA department. But I couldn't help but look at the efficiencies of some of the logic of how call tools works beyond just the call trust and things like that, but from a systematic follow-up process. And it opened these new paradigms to me. And I was like, wow, Follow-Up Boss is actually, I love Follow-Up Boss, really ineffective at follow-up through calling and outreach strategies. And it turned this light bulb moment for me of Follow-Up Boss is tracking attempts, not results for follow-up. And what I mean by that, and let's take the example of a cold lead. So if we have a cold lead in our system, we want to connect with the cold lead every 70 days and a warm lead every 29 and a hot once every 7 days. I think that's Barry Jenkins started that years ago. It's to be very popular in the community. I think everyone has translated some version of that. But what I realized is that 70 days, my best agent in the company might call you, Trenton, as the client, and you said your timeline was 9 months away. So we call you, and then 70 days has to go by until we attempt. The problem is most of these lists are built on the last communication field. And in Follow-Up Boss, last communication is the last attempted call, the last inbound call, the last attempted text, last inbound text, email, same and so forth. But it's by attempt, not result. And so what I've noticed over time is that we'd have a call on a cold lead, no answer. 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 4 calls were 280 days in, almost a year. And if they don't answer there, it's lost. And we finally connect on the 5th call. Now, by the way, answer rates are like 8 to 9 attempts to get a two-way connection. So if it takes 8 to 9 attempts to get there, we're well over a year, and their time frame was 7 months, and we didn't connect in a two-way meaningful way. And now my agent, who's my best agent, calls them and says, yeah, I already bought. I already sold. And the agent feels failed, and they're frustrated. And so I saw that happening at scale. I had something else built with call tools for ISAs, and that problem was fixed. And so I just started to rack my brain around, how do I introduce this to Follow-Up Boss to get them to fix this, or how can I fix it natively in a way? And along came Daniel and Interface and seeing the Automation Center, and I was like, wow, I can pull endpoints. And so what we did to solve this problem is we introduced a functionality called redial rules that's native to call tools. And what redial rules mean is literal as it sounds, is we're going to redial again based on the outcome of the last, what happened. So how we now have, let's say, our same cold follow-up list as before, is it used to be last communication was more than 70 days ago, and stage is cold. That was it. That was the filter. Now, because of Interface's automation ability, we're able to say, when was the last connected conversation that I'm defining as anytime I want? I've defined when's the last 90-second phone call by the assigned agent, not the lender, not the ISA, not another agent on the team that somehow got an inbound call from this person, didn't have anything to do with that relationship. When is the last time the assigned profile agent had a 90-second or more phone call? So that's one of the fields. And the other one is, when was the last call attempt by the assigned agent in that value? And when you stack those two together with stage, now we've created redial rules, meaning I'm going to try every on colds 10 days on call attempt until my last connected has been more than 70 days. So how that manifests now is, instead of trying once every 70 days, they're now in our segment to call every 10 days until we have a two-way meaningful conversation that clears it to punt at 70 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you were able to figure out what the problem was and then be able to come up with that solution to then be able to retrain your agents as well through this process to be able to follow up in the efficient manner too. I think
And the
that's
real
great.
impact of that, Trenton, we pulled it. My hot list, my warm list, and my cold list. So we track all them and how many people were in the segment. When I deployed this, the amount of cold leads in follow-up stage increased by 75%. We went from 2,114 leads in our cold segment needing follow-up to making this change in how we looked at follow-up instantly to 3,705 leads. We didn't increase anything. All we did was saying we were going to mismanage 75% of those leads by not trying again for 70 days. On our warm, we saw a 53% increase in the amount of leads that were in that segment, and on hot, a 23% increase.
That's
So
crazy.
overall, that's a huge amount of leads. Now, the agents obviously are impacted. They're nervous. It seems like there's a lot more follow-up to do, and there is. And so obviously we had to navigate that, but none of that would be possible without the automations platform side of Interface.
So walk us through then, when you get to now that you have interface solving these issues and the problems that you were going through from before, have you noticed that the agent's morale has boosted as well based off of now being able to connect with them in a more efficient manner?
No, it's a mixed bag. I think it provides both. One, on the positive side, I think the agents that have grasped this is a completely new, even to the people on this call, you might have to listen to that a couple times, that segment note disrespect did, but it is a different way of looking at how we do things. And that might progress for us too and say, hey, now that we have this ability, maybe we want to wane a little on our follow-up and we're going to look at more activity intent signals to justify stage. Because what we've noticed is a couple things. Some people that are staging well, they have a small managed CRM and pipeline, they're very appreciative because they realize it's putting right back in front of their face what they need. The people that maybe had a messy CRM, that maybe misstaged leads and didn't follow our process, which is a greater majority than the cohort, I think they're a little bit overwhelmed, stressed, resentful of the change, but we charge a lot of money to work at our company and we don't take that lightly. And so people come to us for us to be a lighthouse to help them do more business and for them to grow. And so we owe it to them to put institutional changes in place that allow them to do more production if they lean into it. And so I think the challenge has become for our sales leadership ultimately is looking at those signals of stress, worry, frustration, or just we've seen some people throw their hands in the air and we see, hey, they're really not working these new segments any more than they were. And now that just really raises flags for coaching conversations for our sales leadership to go meet those people where they're at and provide value to get them systematically staging leads correctly, stop auto staging, keep them in lead stage, because we have a segment for everything. And by the way, I won't go into them a ton because we just don't have a ton of time. But all of our smart lists that we've created are copy and pastable through Interface. Daniel set everybody up. They're templated in there. Same with our forms we use. We're a really strong partner with them. And so we've made all of our stuff templatable through them. That's all there. So I won't go into like the nitty gritty of every segment we have. But truthfully, not to reinvent the wheel, we took a lot of what Barry Jenkins had, active segments from YLOPO, recent activity, Y priority, all that stuff for people staged, not staged, new lead outreach, and then also the hot follow-ups. But Interface specifically solved staged leads, meaning hot, warm, cold, active, and following up an appropriate way with them to include our active segments. Those same redial rules I explained there, Trenton, they also play into our Y priority alerts and our recent activity alerts. Same thing, there's people less than 2 weeks on the site where last communication was greater than X amount of days, right? That's how most companies have these lists set up. But if you're just attempting, if someone said, I want to go see 123 Main Street, or I filled out a mortgage calculation against a property, and we call them one attempt and clear it, that's crazy. That's a lot of money wasted down the drain. Like it's not an effective way. But if I can say, hey, Trenton, if you favorited a property and did a mortgage calculation, you came up to my recent activity tab, I'm going to call you every 2 days or every 3 days, whatever our practice is going to be, and try to connect with you until we've had a 90-second conversation to dismiss your interest or validate it and then put you on the next sales cycle wherever you need to go in your journey.
Excellent. So let me ask you about that is how do you define a connected call? And then why is it only set at 90 seconds? Why is that your benchmark?
Yeah, it's a great question. 90 seconds, I looked, you can get a voicemail to 1 minute and 15 seconds. Anything more than that, pretty unlikely. The key thing to know about Follow Up Boss and how they track call times is sometimes you'll see in there like a call made with no timestamp. And that's a whole other thing we can talk to where agents we're clearing segments because last communication just clears the whole thing by logging a call at the top without ever making a call. Team leaders across the country have that problem. They're not even aware of it probably. But go through, look at your call activity look at someone with high calls, low talk time. They're clearing their smart list. If you have any kind of smart list accountability in place, they will buck the system through doing that. And it hurts them. The other side of it, though, for 90 seconds, the call timing does not start until the consumer hits ignore or their voicemail picks up or they pick up. That's when 1 second of time starts. So the ringing up to that point is 0 time. So I know that a voicemail just reasonably can't be more than 1 minute. And so I don't want it to clear because that's not a connection. And I don't want it to be too long because I can call you, Trenton, while you're in the car, and you could say, hey, I'm really just not interested. And we can have a short, abbreviated conversation. And I don't want to redial that person again in 3 days, like our agent just didn't get told they have no interest. Now, in a perfect scenario, that agent would also downgrade the stage from hot to cold or archive, whatever it might be at that point. But we're not fully there with agent adoption of moving stages up and down, something we're actively working on getting agents to be better at and more purposeful with. So having the redial rules aggressive, but also loose enough to take into the constraints of what might happen on a call.
Excellent.
The
And
cool part
so
about the interface platform, and I can show you in the back end, I can define 90 seconds one week, and I can change it to 2.5 minutes the next. So it's completely customizable based on what happened, and you can create the filter to be whatever you want it to be.
awesome. And so like, how has this automation then changed the way your agents prioritize their tasks?
Task is a funny word. Task as in a literal sense of FUB, and tasks in there are just their daily duties.
Their daily duties, because they have the smart list, and you're saying that they can quickly go through those, or they can try to spend a little more time having those conversations. And so being able to have that automation in place, how is that adjusted to what they're doing?
I think it's made the workload more real and relevant to what it looks like to be successful in an outreach perspective. Like, I think it's increased the demand on them to perform, and it's increased the necessary support that we have to create from our inside sales team to support them on maybe lower intent leads. And that's some things that we're progressing through right now. But overall, it really looks like the lists are bigger than they've ever been. I shared those percentage increases with you. So I do think that can be daunting. And so what we tell them is start with your tasks, because we know that YLOPO and other systems, they send showing alerts, high intent to the tasks section. Clear those first and foremost. And then from there, again, this is no different than I think what Barry preached years ago when I came to FUB YLOPO, is this: work your list left to your recent activity on the site, then go to your people that are active on the site that are not staged yet, because that's like your pond of high activity. And then from there, call brand new leads that just landed and make sure that we're running through our 30 days of pain, 10 days of pain, whatever your strategy is internally. And then work on your hot follow-ups and active clients. Then if you have time, work towards your warm segment, and then work towards your cold follow-up segment. And so you're just working left to. Some days, if you have 45 minutes of calling, work the people that are active, lowest hanging fruit. But don't have every day, and that's what we coach our agents. Every day is not a 45-minute or a 15-minute or not at all type of day. And so if you have a practice where you do one flash of 3 hours a day, and then you don't do anything the rest of the week, and the next week you do 3 hours that day, or maybe you do half of that, if we're clearing the segment by effort and results, everything's going to reload that next week on that day, and it's never going to feel like you're getting anywhere. So we've really coached our agents to chip away. It's a strategy of a little bit every day, which isn't reinventing the wheel. I think all the best coaches in this industry have said it for a long time. If you have a practice chipping away, it's going to trickle in slowly, like a very reasonable Tetris game. But I think if you go into a once a week strategy or a couple sprints here and there, you don't have a consistent process, it's going to feel like the highest levels of Tetris. Shit's just falling at you fast. You can't keep up. And so that's the nuance of what we're coaching agents through.
And to reiterate for everybody on the call, the impact that Interface has had with this team is that their hot leads increased by 23%, their warm leads increased by 52%, and the cold leads increased by 75%. So continual impact from this, and I think that's great. And so we've chatted a little bit about the automation part of things, the smart lists. Now let's talk about the custom form builder that also is integrated as well. And how has this tool helped you guys be able to track different recruiting stages and being able to integrate things like that?
Yeah, so let me just show you the platform real quick. I'll touch on form, and then I think we have 10 more minutes.
Yeah, 5 or 10 more minutes.
Good, perfect. So let me just show you the automation so you see the back end real quick. It's a very clean presentation, very easy to use. You'll see that I have the last call attempt by agent and the last connected call by 90 seconds. So I'm just going to click on this real quick to see what it looks like. I built the trigger. This took me 5 minutes to build. Nah, that's not true. 2 minutes to build. I have a pretty high technical ability, I'll admit that, but I think I could have anybody on my team create this and my ops side in 5 minutes or less. Very simple logic, very good training. And I just want to go actually to a new one and show you the triggers available for those that are nerdy and want to see what's possible within the system. So the trigger events are from the forms native, which I alluded to. So everything's just natively right here. So when you create the forms, which we'll touch in a second, all of it's going to be in your automation center, and they're interconnected very intuitively. Follow-up boss, this is where it gets crazy. So there are people triggers down to if collaborator was added or removed, the person changed so that you can put notes in the system. Like the use cases for this are absolutely endless. These don't exist as triggers in Zapier or in Follow-up Boss. Some of them do, but not all. Like tag does. Person stage updated, people deleted, person updated. Those are some of the people triggers. You can trigger off notes being created in a profile or updated. Emails created. Appointment triggers. So within the appointment system, you can fire off other things to automate and happen because an appointment fired off. You don't have to daisy chain that together with tags like you do in the native Follow-up Boss system. You can do off text message, calls, or deals triggers. So the call trigger, we'll say that one, that's where I built in the other one is just looking at the call. And then what I did is I used a filter to say, was the call duration greater or less than 90 seconds? And so that's how I went and built that. And then your actions you can take, this is another cool thing. It's not released yet, but Daniel's also integrated with Twilio really nicely. So you'll be able to send texts bulk. I don't really recommend that, but it's a whole different conversation. But you can send specific text to your agents based on an outcome from the appointment or a next step needed. And then there's an analytics stuff coming soon. I don't really get a ton into that. It goes to Slack. But overall, I want to focus on the triggers of this, what's possible. The point two stuff is, I would say, normalized within Zapier, but the triggers are second to none and very unique about interface and what you can create and do. The form side. So a real scenario we're going through right now, Trenton, is we have a follow-up boss for our recruiting, and we have a follow-up boss account for our consumer-facing agent transactions. Yep. And on our recruiting FUB, stealing the idea from our primary FUB, we have on every lead, now I go to a test lead, a form system that gets filled out over here on the interface app for an opportunity. So if it's a buyer deal, the agent fills it out. I'm testing something. This is actually a bad example here on 2.0. Let me go to interface 1.0. Sorry about that.
And so this is all fully integrated right within Follow-up Boss, be able to integrate specifically with the leads that you guys are working as well.
And this isn't this webinar, but this connects to our deal stages. So like our deals can't move, like agents can't move the deal screen. They all lock to a secondary database. So we have perfect data in our deals screen. This makes our CSU data real. There's no other way I've found in the industry to have a perfect CSU account other than through interface. Like it's not, I've not seen it yet. I've been on it for 3 years. I partnered with Daniel originally for our company due to the lack of quality data in CSU because it was detrimental and it was dependent on agent input, which back to the beginning of this call, I can't rely on agent input. They're there to be great salespeople, and expecting them to be great operators is just doesn't track for me. So how do we remove operation duties from agents is super important to me. So you go to the opportunities tab, the agent fills out an appointment form. So we'll say it's a buyer deal. We want to set an appointment, and it's going to open up a traditional form that's dynamic and completely separate. And so we're replicating that exact same type of flow from set to met to signed, which is the exact same, by the way, as our deals pipeline for buyers. And it moves these through these deal cards to make them real and also sends it to CSU if that's your choice. So what we're going to do for recruiting is we're going to say, okay, we have the appointment set with a recruit, appointment met disposition, so we know the outcome. And we're going to build all these forms right here natively through interface. And it automatically tracks to the pipeline that's in FUB, what stage this form should move it, so you don't have to do a bunch of crazy configurations in Zapier. And if you want a template, you can use the Whissel templates right there, and all of our stuff's already there. And then when you continue and you move it in, so I'll call it appointment form. All of the things for the fields.
All of your guys' forms are already templated into the platform, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. We had a question in here that was wondering if you guys could send any of those out, but if those are already in there, you guys would be able to see directly when you guys are building this, which ones Christopher's team is using as well.
Yep. And Daniel's pretty transparent. He has collaboration with my director of operations, myself, and others as we've built this. And don't copy us exactly. That's the real answer. This works for us. There's things I have not shared on this call, not to be secret, just all of our businesses are unique. how we got here, how we structure, how our commissions work with our agents, how we present information to our agents. Use it with caution. Don't just copy and paste mine because it worked. Like, I have a lot of things happening in our system, and some things just don't make sense for you, or we have things that you need that we don't take consideration to. So that's what's beautiful about this left side. You can customize any fields you want and add them if you think they're necessary. And then there's a ton of default fields. You just in there, what's the opportunity price of the appointment? You can make it required, not required. It's fully customizable, like Jot form, Cognito forms, Wufoo, any of those you've used, except the beauty of it is it's native to FUB, and it can pull in the data and auto pre-populate the form directly from your Follow Up Boss account, which is not possible in those form builders. And that's important because Trenton, agents don't want to fill out. I just said that. We're trying to remove operational duties from them. So if all I do is give them a big, long Jot form to tell me a bunch of information I already know, they're not going to fill it out. But if I can have a form that pre-populates because it's already connected to my Follow Up Boss account, and it knows, because I launched the opportunity within the FUB profile, it knows the FUB ID, so it knows their name, it knows their email, it knows their phone number, it knows the deals, it knows everything. And now it's pre-populating, and we're asking for minimal entry from the agent to help us progress and get better data through the system. And that's what the forms, interconnected with automations, interconnected with the FUB profile, allows us to do.
And so, speaking of the agents, what kind of feedback have you guys received from your team regarding these tools and automations?
I would say the interface for us is like AWS for my grandma and Facebook. If it goes down, she knows AWS exists. But she's not using Amazon Web Servers, right? She's not interfacing with that at all in any of her products. But if Instagram, Facebook go down, she knows. So that's what interface is. And I think what makes it uniquely valuable is my agents don't know it even exists to a degree. They just know we're supposed to fill out these forms, which most teams that have more than 5-10 agents have a form system in place already for their TCs to take files from the agent and work on those files. So a form system is probably not monumental news to anybody on this call or that'll ever listen to this call in the future. They have some sort of intake process for transactions. All we've done is introduce tracking data above that transaction, which most of you on the call can't get your agents to do, because why would an agent fill out a form if there's no money to be exchanged on an opportunity? It's just an opportunity. They don't want to fill it out. But we've created so many automations at the appointment set level, disposition level, to make the sales journey more automated for them and provide more services, that we've made it so you have to use our forms. Like, why wouldn't you? We're tracking the data. We're coaching you better because we know where your inefficiencies are. We're setting out automated reminders. Our ISA team's coming on the back and sending out your introduction video for the appointment. Like, we're trying to support you. So if you don't, you're an asshole. Like, you're screwing yourself out of the sales process. And so now... But if we would have asked them to fill out a Jot form, Trenton, they had, hey, put the customer's first name, put the customer's last name, put their email. I'm not following that process. Like, I'm creating work for myself that I don't even know is going to pay off. And that's, I would say, the effective difference of automated pre-populated forms versus getting forms that are completely raw and redundant and repetitive in the nature of what you have to ingest into them.
This has all been great, Christopher. We've discussed advanced automations, improved follow-up processes, custom forms that Interface 2.0 can offer. We can tell that all of these tools have significantly enhanced the Whissel Realty's operations as well. And so I want to say thank you for joining as well. Thank you for sharing some of these insights with us. And thank you again for your time going through this. If you want to, I was gonna say drop your email or it looks like you have a QR code. I'll let you wrap up here if you have any last thoughts you want to share. And I want to thank everybody as well for joining here today too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Trenton and Tristan. At the end of the day, like, I can positively say that the reason I can go to companies like Zillow and other lead providers, and I know that we have some of the best data in the industry, is because of Interface. Like, we track things up funnel and down funnel consistently, so we understand where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, and we put our resources where they need to go. And if we're sucking somewhere, the data speaks to appointment met rate, all these things that Sisu and other great platforms have always tracked. But if you don't have the real data in there, it's just it's not real. You can't make decisions off it. And so that's what interfaces allowed us to do. And it's just happened to expand into automations and custom forms that they ran through themselves, rather than, they used to make our forms, by the way, happen all that way through Wufoo. And they were just running a bunch of API events to pre-populate these secondary forms. And it's like, why are we doing all this work? We can just natively build forms for FUB. And that's what they did. Yeah, reach out to Daniel and team. I know they have some sign up offers. No pressure. Just take a call, see how it worked for your business, play with the system. I know there's more features for analytics and other things coming down the pipe. But yeah, they've been a great partner to us since the beginning of my role at the company. And I can positively attribute a lot of, I wouldn't say revenue directly, but cost savings by being more efficient in where we put our time and what we track and how we coach our agents. And that creates more revenue opportunities because we're focused on the right things with our staff and our agents.
Awesome. I want to say thank you again for you guys, for Christopher for joining us, as well as everybody else for being on today. I want you guys to all have a great day and happy 4th of July weekend as well. Please stay safe out there, and looking forward to the next Bosses in Action in 2 weeks, and we will be back with a new topic. So
Thanks so much for
thank
having
you
me, Trenton.
and have a great day. Bye.